hope you're all well. Welcome to another album ranking. As you know, this week's all about my music that I listen to, because we are celebrating RTO's first birthday on Saturday, where we'll be having a live stream, a birthday bash type thing from 8 p.m. So today I wanted to do something that was Magnum-y, because Magnum are one of my favourite bands, and I've already ranked the studio albums. I'm going to be doing the live albums at some stage, but I thought, I'll do the band that became, because Magnum split up for a while and then they reformed, so I thought, let's have a look at the two albums between Magnum's in their 80th years, whatever you want to call it. And Bob Catley, the vocalist, and the singer, the songwriter, guitarist Tony Clarkin formed a band called Hard Rain in 1996. Catley was wanting to do focused on his solo career, but he did this with Tony Clarkin, and Hard Rain only lasted from 1996 to 1999. After Catley had left, they'd been, Tony and Bob had been working together since 1972. After a bit of a quiet period, Tony Clarkin announced the end of Hard Rain, and back come Magnum. Came back very strong, of course. So they only released the two albums. So we'll have a quick look at these albums. So coming in at number 2 is their second album and last, released in 1999, and it's called When the Good Times Come. Bob Catley said that, unlike Hard Rain's debut album, this album was more stylistically different from anything that he would have ever recorded with Magnum. So who was in the band at the time when this album was done? Well, we've got Tony Clarkin on guitars, Bob Catley on the vocals, Sue McCloskey on vocals as well, Paul Hodgson on the keyboards, Al Barrow, who went on to become a member of Magnum, of course, on the bass, his drummer Rob Barrow on the drums, then we got Brian Bannister on harmonica, and then we got some other people on here, Justin Tunderberry on trumpet, Gary Barnacle on saxophone, and Andy Rogers on trombone. And then there's a little choir, there's a choir that sings on here, and the choir is actually Bob Catley, Sue McCloskey, Paul Hodgson, Al Barrow, Rob Barrow, Sue Parks, Anita Barrow, the Barrow family getting involved here, and John Hampton, Nicky Hall. So that's the choir. So the first track on here is called Eat It Up. Now, this is, if you like Magnum, when you put this track on, you go, oh, this is certainly a bit different, and it was. It's got a great vocal from Bob Catley, of course, and a stunning bass line from Al Barrow, who would then go on to do many a great bass line in his time with Magnum. And obviously it's got some great guitar work from Tony Clarkin. He's such an underrated guitarist. I think I've said this before. It's not a bad track, actually. I do like it. Then we got Who You Gonna Trust. This is quite atmospheric. It's totally away from what they did with Magnum, of course. It's a really good track. It's got some great guitar playing from Tony Clarkin, classic Tony Clarkin guitars. A really catchy tune. Tony Clarkin writes some fantastic tunes, and it's catchy. That's what I like about Magnum as well. The tunes are so catchy. Then we get my favourite track on the album. It's called Rock Me in Your Cradle. This is more like Magnum, I'm afraid. You can't have a track called Rock Me in Your Cradle and nothing but driving guitar riffs. Great vocal from Bob. It's a proper rocker. It's a great track. No One Can Show You the Way. This is a ballad, and it's a typical Tony Clarkin ballad. Lovely backing vocals on this from Sue McCluskey. Absolutely terrific, and the choir are in there as well. Pretty cool track, nice track. I do like Magnum ballads, and this is just one of Tony Clarkin's finest. When the Good Times Come, the title track, one of my favourite tracks on the album. Again, we got this beautiful bass line from Al Barrow. Strong vocal from Bob. It's just a great track. Nothing wrong with it at all. Then we got Talks Like a Lady. Again, last. It's a great rocker. A typical sort of rocker you would get with Magnum. I know Bob said this is nothing away from Magnum, but this is so Magnum, and you know that Tony Clarkin wrote it. It's a light, this track. Now the next track is different. This is called An Ordinary Day, and Sue McCluskey takes the lead vocal on this. Really nice song. It's just weird not hearing a Tony Clarkin song without Bob's voice on it. But she does a great job. It's still very Magnum-like, and it's a really good track. Showtime. Now this is totally different from Magnum. This has got a lot of brass on it. When the horns come in, and it shows that what a great voice Bob's got. He can sing anything. It's a good track. Nice backing vocals from the choir. It's just a terrific track. Bit different. It was a great little track. Lightning Strikes. This has got some of Tony's best guitar work on this album. He is truly one of the great British guitar players, and this is a great little track. Really strong vocal from Bob as ever. Never Say Never. Again, this is one of them typical ballad songs from Tony Clarkin. It's got everything that's good on it. The great guitar solos, the great riffs, the great lyric content, and the great delivery of the vocal from Bob. Just brilliant. Step Back. This is Bob's best vocal on this album. Some great drums from here from Rob Barrow. I'm surprised he didn't get the gig with Magnum unless he was doing something else, to be quite honest. Because the Barrow boys, they sound good together. They are tight. Very, very, very good track. And that was the last track on that album. This album is it's got a lot of diversity, but of course, although you can't tell, we want to do something different. Tony Clarkin's style of writing is the same all the way through. It's a really good album. There's some different tracks on here. I do like this album a lot, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay then, coming in at number 1, it's the debut album. It was released in 1997, called Hard Rain. Now on here, all the instruments are played by Tony Clarkin, because he can play guitars, drums. Bob Catley does all the vocals, and we got some additional musicians on vocals. We got Sue McCluskey again, Jackie Dean, and Wendy PD. So the first track, Rage On, this is typically Magnum. The only difference is we got more of the backing vocals from the 3 ladies. Terrific stuff, and Bob sings out of his socks on that one. Shame for the Bad Boy. It's got one of them great Tony Clarkin opening riffs. Good little rocker. What a musician this man is. He's playing every amp instrument on here. Absolutely brilliant. He does all that and Bob turns up and sings on it. Brilliant. You'd Start a Fight. Again, another great rocker. A typical sort of Magnum track. It's terrific. Great vocal from Bob. Catchy tune. Gets your feet tapping. Excellent. Stop Me From Loving You. One of Tony's finest ballads. It's very 50s, this is. It's just a lovely song. Great guitar solo from Tony. And a fine vocal from Bob as ever. Looking for a Way. This is just classic Magnum to me. Although they're not called Magnum, it's a Magnum track. But when you've got the lead singer of Magnum and the main writer for Magnum, it's going to sound Magnum, and I love that track. Great rocker. Cry Cry Cry, a little bit different here. I think there's a few drum machines on this. I mean, when Magnum got back together, Tony did do a little bit of drum machines, and he sort of spoilt it. But you can tell it's a drum machine on this. It's all right. It's got a nice melody to it, though. I Must Have Been Blind again. I think there's a little bit of drum machine on this. But what has got on it is a great guitar solo. Absolutely stunning. Perpetual, Commotion. It's got a brilliant guitar solo on it. It's a great non-Magnum track, really. I love that track. Different Kind of Love. Brilliant. Brilliant track. Typical Magnum track. What adds to this is those backing vocals, though. The harmonies from these three ladies is fantastic. They really complement each other well, and they complement Bob's voice. Terrific. Another Fine Mess. Typical Tony Clarkin song. Great hook. He's good at this. He knows how to make a good tune. Such a catchy track. Then we've got This Ain't Love. Again, I think this is a drum machine, but it sounds good. It's got that typical Tony Clarkin riff in it. There's just nothing wrong with this track at all. Excellent track. Good way to end the album. If Magnum hadn't split up, I think this would have probably have been the next Magnum album. No doubt Tony had already wrote a lot of these songs. It's a solid album, and I love this. Play this to death. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, very short album ranking today, but there is a reason for that, because the next show today is about Status Quo and their non-album singles. So doing a short album ranking because we've got a few more songs to do in retro ranking this week. If you've never checked these out, go and check them out. If you like Magnum, you're going to like these. That's all I'll say. If you're a big Magnum fan, you're going to like these two albums, because there's not much difference in them, really. Although Bob Catley tries to convince us. But yeah, you can tell it's a Magnum. So I'll be back later with some Quo, which is one of the favourite bands on this channel. So I'll see you for that. Take care for now.